Hey guys, what's going on? So, long time without a video. Going to be publishing a whole bunch of videos this week, generally covering a whole bunch of new changes that have happened, and wanted to get more on top of it. Big thank you to all the Patreons, everybody who supported me on Twitch, YouTube, all this kind of stuff. I understand that I haven't been streaming as much, but I've streamed the TBC beta today, streamed some twos yesterday, so really trying to get back on top of it all. And huge thank you, generally to everyone who sort of supported the channel, even withstanding all of this. So we'll look to publish way more and, get back on the swing of things, because I think it's a really exciting time right now. I actually have the sub goal and stuff still up here from the stream, so let me turn that off real quick. So today I wanted to talk about the changes to Fury. Specifically this new PvP town, Slaughterhouse, and how good I actually think it is. Firstly, let's do a bit of testing. So generally it sort of seems like, you can get Rampage up pretty easily. It takes a couple seconds, and then it's up for 5 seconds, so way shorter than MS, but the effect is pretty considerable, 60%. And if you get these like Rampages, you're going to have a lot of momentum. I think the big thing you can do is if you kind of look at me now, I've got 100 rage, I've pulled it all up. I can Rampage, right? Do my rotation, then I can pop my recklessness and Rampage again, and essentially keep up this 60% debuff for like the entire duration of recklessness, which is pretty massive when you think about the fact that this is 60% of healing being stopped this entire time. And I'm not even very good at the rotation yet, but it's actually longer than just the 16 seconds that I'm using recklessness for, right? It's almost like 25 seconds when you think about it, because you have extra rage after recklessness. And judging based on the different legendaries available, right? Let me pull that out. I think you have some that, so Rampage reduces recklessness, which is good generally. Let me see if there's anything super specific to this that I think would be really good. Can't really see anything too crazy. I mean, this is not bad, Sinful Surge, in terms of extending the duration out a bit, especially with Reckless Abaddon. But I'm thinking maybe it's something like Cadence of Fujita, or Deathmaker, stuff like that really give you a whole bunch of extra damage on your rotation. At the moment I'm still using, because this is a sort of my a copy of my main account, I'm still using the like Unhinged, and that's still pretty good too. It doesn't appear to put it puts it on after that, so you can kind of, if you have a gap between your recklessness, your Rampage, you can get it back up pretty quickly. So I think the big thing that I've noticed is, your rotation feels pretty fluid, and this extra damage would be, like this extra healing reduction is really in the right spot, especially when you have Abaddon. Like, this is nutty damage for the amount of pressure you're putting out, and you're charging to them, and restoring health and all this good stuff. And with the conduit, it lasts a considerable amount of time. So like, I'm still rage capped now, then I get rage capped again, drop it all, and if we actually count how long I've had this up, it's been quite a while of just having this permanent reduction on. So I think this will make Fury very, very viable in Arena. I don't know if it would be in the same comps that you'd bring Arms into, largely because what I feel like Fury still lacks is a lot of defensive utility. I think you might see this more in Cleaves, but maybe also one big factor to consider is that you'll have more HP, like, because your health pools go up, and generally because Bloodthirst and Enraged Regen and all these little things that increase that like regenerate 1% or 2% of HP come into play. When you have more HP, that's generally going to be a good thing, because people don't tend to increase their damage as proportionally as HP pools increase. What I would be interested to try is also to try out the single-minded fury with a movement speed. I think that would be really interesting. At the moment, I'm using the Titan's grip, which is sort of underrated as well. Like, you get so many stats from the second weapon, and you can get 2 enchants. Well, that happens with single-minded fury as well, but generally I think really, really positive changes. I think the survivability is still sort of in question. Perhaps there's other builds, maybe you go Necrolord or something with Fury, with a banner, and you play over Rep Pally. Maybe that's the play. And you get that big shield as well, which gives you some extra survivability. I think Venthyr is sort of, I think Thrill Seeker and this Fatal Flaw is pretty crazy, especially if you can get the timing right on it. But overall, I think really, really big changes that are positive to the broader meta and what it does. So in the next video, I'll be quickly covering, I think I want to talk about the new legendaries that have been brought in. I'm not sure if there's been any general legendaries as well. Let me see, is there any all-class legendaries introduced? I'm not 100% sure, but I think it'll be interesting to look at what these different legendaries are gonna, like, how they're gonna impact the game as well. They are a lot more specific, generally than the other ones were. So if we look at Glory, your Conqueror's banner affects 1 additional ally. Probably not too useful in Arena, So, but every 20 rage, maybe that's okay. And then Nature's Fury. This is also kind of questionable. We'll talk a lot about these different elements soon. Interestingly, I can't see a Kyrian one so far, so maybe that's in the works or something. Overall, really, really happy with how Fury looks and feels at the moment. I think these changes will make a pretty considerable difference. In terms of builds, I really like Fresh Meat because you get that Enrage instantly from the talent. Enrage, obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, gives you huge stat boost. It essentially is like a steroid. Let me go pull it up. Enrage, yep. So you get 15% haste, 17% damage, and 10% movement speed. And then Rampage always enrages you, and Bloodthirst has a 45% chance. So the first one increases, but then also you have a 15% increased chance to trigger Enrage. So if you think about it, it means you can sort of keep up this Enrage for a lot longer than you normally would. And when it stacks up with Enduring Rage, you also, like, your Raging Blows increase the duration of it, so you can always have this stat boost up, which I think is really, really important to have up just consistently. Once that drops off, you will feel a pretty significant difference in, like, how your rotation feels and all that. So important to keep a track of that. And maintain, your good rotation. I feel like rotation as Fury is really important. I think the other thing to look at might be, Onslaught seems a bit meh. I think Massacre's okay. I actually don't think... Well, the cooldown reduction's good, but I'm not 100% sure which one's better. The cooldown reduction does make it 3.9 seconds, which means that every 3.9 seconds you get 20 rage versus 15 rage on an 11-second cooldown. But it's an interesting one. I think maybe this could be good too. Frenzy. At the moment, I'm leaning more towards Warpaint. You don't have a D stance as Fury, so it's good to have Warpaint. Especially, it sort of means that you're a bit tankier when you're on the target. The biggest issue is when you're stunned and that Enrage falls off. You will take considerable amounts of more extra damage, but it is what it is. I think this is really good. It makes your rotation feel really fluid, the cruelty. But also Frothing Berserker might be better as well, because you will get that rage return. So if we test that here, let's go get the rage. If you get rage returns on the rampage, it means you can just stack up another rampage, stack up more slaughterhouses, and so on and so forth. which is good in terms of like keeping this up the entire time. But as you can see, it doesn't really seem like while we're in recklessness, we're having any issues keeping it up. And there's only a couple of gaps really where we see Slaughterhouse actually fall off even in our general rotation. So I'm not sure how much we need that. It might increase the uptime considerably of the debuff, which is huge, right? I think the other thing probably I haven't noted is that if you do this, I'm pretty sure, well, that's interesting. Even though you cleave the rampage, I don't think it actually, yeah, it doesn't sweep the damage because it must not count. So that's one thing to factor in. The whirlwind does not like sweep Slaughterhouse around, which is weird because it should operate similar to how sweeping strikes work, but that might be something with the code. I still like Bladestorm. I think it does a lot of damage as Fury. Dragon's Roar might be good too. I don't think you'd ever run Meat Cleaver, but Dragon's Roar was always a bit of extra burst at the end of the rotation when I used to play Fury a lot. So, you know, base hits about 5k, for crit could hit like 7k, but I think the big thing is you do that at the end of like a rampage and it's kind of hard to deal with. This is one line I'm not 100% sure on. I really like Reckless Abandon. I keep calling it Abaddon for some reason. Because it really empowers this bloodbath, it empowers your crushing blows, they generate more rage, and you get rampage up all the time. It really feels like you're doing huge amounts of damage, but also you get a bit of a charge as well, I think, with the what's it called, Raging Blow, which is pretty cool too, and feels really strong because you get that 50 rage, which lets you rampage straight away on your recklessness. Alongside it, obviously, the extra crit chance, which is nice too. So this feels like the really bursty build. The more consistent damage build would probably be Siegebreaker, because then you can do this, apply this 15% debuff, sort of like Warbreaker, instead of, you know, relying on this 1.5 minute cooldown. I think this is more fun. This is probably more consistent. In terms of legendaries, like I said before, I'm leaning more towards like something like Cadence of Fujita, which gives you just base haste, increase in haste and stats. I think maybe Will of the Berserker could be okay. It's just crit though, which isn't that important. And I think honestly Unhinged is still fine. You know, the extra damage you get on that Bladestorm if you're running Bladestorm is quite nice. And you don't really have to worry too much about anything else. I think Deathmaker as well, actually. I didn't consider that. Probably Deathmaker has a pretty good chance of being up there, because especially if you get a Deathmaker proc in your recklessness, but it does feel a lot more RNG compared to just running Unhinged like a normal sort of build there. Overall, I think PvP talents are pretty straightforward. You can run Death Sentence. I don't think you really need to. I would almost feel like you could run Battle Trance for the extra rage gen and health regen. You could also run, where is it? Master and Commander Disarm. Obviously the utility. I'd almost feel like Enduring Rage is mandatory though, because it increases your enrage, and Slaughterhouse obviously mandatory. So this would probably be your utility one. Overwatch, Disarm, Master and Commander. And if you can't find a good spot for it, you can obviously run Death Sentence or Battle Trance or Barbarian, any of these things. It's pretty flexible in that slot. Yep, so guys, really excited about Fury. Let's keep in a loop. I'm not sure if they're going to keep this 60% health reduction. It might be nerfed in PvP to something closer to like 45%, 40%, but it's definitely the right direction. Do you guys have any ideas on how they could possibly make Fury more tanky? Is there conduits or covenants I'm not thinking about? Please let me know. Alright guys, take it easy, have an excellent night, and I will speak to you very soon.